What's going on, everyone? My name is Security Denied, and welcome back to yet another Dev Insight post about the Renegade's abilities tuning preview. Let's get started. I've been waiting for this. I don't know why they posted this today. I was expecting it on Tuesday or Wednesday. Anyways, let's get started. Dear Guardians, Combat Team here with the final Sandbox tuning preview article for Renegades. This one is focused on player abilities, specifically buffing player abilities. Below, you'll find dozens of juicy ability buffs, a handful of PvP-only nerfs, and one solitary PvE nerf. There are a lot of changes here, so to avoid this turning into a novel, we're going to keep the community light and let the changes speak for themselves. In addition to these changes, we have more exciting ability changes planned for the Shadow and Order release. Okay, enough preamble, let's start with the Hunter changes. There's a lot of buffs. We're in a very ability meta right now in Destiny, so let's see if they're getting any better. Hunter. Our friend Crow asked us to say thank you to all the hunters out there providing feedback about Hunter endgame viability. We hear you loud and clear. Of the three Guardian classes, Hunters have the most ability changes coming in Renegades, with more on the way in future releases. Thank goodness! Thank goodness. I'm so excited to see what they're shaking up. Solar Gunslinger. Our Gunslinger changes are primarily focused on making Gunslinger damage more impressive. Gunslingers typically need to be precise with their abilities, so they deserve a devastating payoff when they hit their mark. Golden Gun, Deadshot, and 6-Shooter Super. Increase damage against non-boss combatants by 15%. Increase damage against boss combatants by 26%. Note, this change removes the disparity between boss damage and non-boss damage. Golden Gun projectiles now scorch targets, 40 stacks base, plus 10 with increased stacks. Fragment, huge buff. When fired inside a well of radiance, Golden Gun now counts as radiant for increased damage. Oh, so that's pretty good. So it looks like Golden Gun and freaking... the name escapes me. You know, the sniper rifle. Golden Gun Sniper. Looks like that could be pretty good, and we'll have to see how much damage it does. Blade Barrage. Increased damage against combatants by 39%. Cool. I'm using Blade Barrage right now, so I'll take a little bit more damage. Proximity Explosive Knife. Weighted Knife. Lightweight Knife, Knife Trick, Melee. Increased damage against red bar enemies by 50%. Increased damage against other enemies by 36%. Lightweight Knife increased crit multiplier from 1.3 to 1.5. Great changes so far. Acrobat's Dodge class ability. Increased passive energy regen rate in PvE by 112%. Note, cooldown now matches Gambler's Dodge. This change allows you to buff your fire team more often. So giving Radiant out the wazoo feels good. Gunpowder Gamble aspect. Shooting the dynamite in midair now increases damage by 50%, 5% in PvP. Expands the radius and creates sub-munitions. That's huge because it already does a pretty good amount of damage. This is going to be nuts. I'm excited. Void. I've been waiting for some Void buffs for Hunter for a long time. The changes to Night Stalker in this release are mostly centered on the Shadow Shot supers. We want Deadfall to be the best choice for weakening beefy targets, while making Mobius Quiver a top-tier damage choice. We are actively working on additional neutral game Night Stalker changes that we intend to release in Shadow and Order. In the general abilities section below, you'll also find some changes to Void fragments that will benefit Night Stalker in the meantime. Okay, so I'm excited for Shadow and Order. Hopefully we get another Void melee for Hunters, because Smoke Bomb is kind of useless. Not gonna lie. Shadow Shot Deadfall Super. Tether Source now attaches to combatants on direct impact. Increased weaken effect from 30 to 35%. Note, Deadfall Tether is now the strongest weaken in the game. Alright, so now we can actually do something, right? We can bring Shadow Shot into endgame, which is going to be I'll feel useful again. Let's just say that. Now, immediately weakens and suppresses enemies in an area of effect on impact. Oh, that's real nice. So you don't have to wait for it to tether to everything in order for it to do its thing. That's nice. That's nice. Shadow Shot Mobius Quiver. While the super is active, dealing damage now increases the power of subsequent Shadow Shot attacks and bow weapons. Note, this puts a bar on your screen that charges as you deal damage. When charged, your final shot or final 2 shots with Orpheus Rig deal significantly increased damage, turning it into one of the highest damage supers in the game, 227% max. What? What? So if we pair this with Leviathan's Breath, because it also increases the power of bow weapons. So we just pop that once, go to Leviathan's Breath, deal as much damage as you can, and then before like your super runs out, pop the last 2 shots of your super, and then go back to Leviathan's Breath. Hunters, we're back. We're so back. Our bitching and moaning is finally paying off. It feels great to be heard. Screw you, everybody else. Warlocks, you've been in the light for way too long. Titans, you can still eat crayons. You could just stay in your little kitty corner. Increased base super duration from 10 seconds to 16 seconds. Increased Orpheus Rig duration from 16 seconds to 20 seconds. Okay, so that gives you a little bit more time to build up that damage bar. Smoke Bomb Melee. Increased projectile lifetime after sticking to a surface from 3 seconds to 9 seconds. Reduce lingering smoke time in PvP from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. Reduce screen effect intensity and duration while in enemy smoke. Reduce damage against players by 16%. Note, after seeing how the previous Smoke Bomb changes landed in PvP, we're shifting Smoke Bomb back to being more of a misdirection tool than a damage tool. Being hit directly with an enemy smoke will be less frustrating as a victim, while allowing it to be a more effective trap/decoy as the user. Alright. Cool. Good changes. Void Melee still getting nerfs, and not another one to speak of. Arc Strider. The Arc Strider changes are light this time around. Moving forward, we'll be looking for opportunities to diversify the number of Arc Strider builds that feel powerful in in-game content. Storm's Edge Super passive energy regeneration increased by 25%. Tempest Strike aspect reduced damage against players by 16%. Well, that was literally my Crucible build for the last couple weeks, and it was great. So, good to see that nerf, because it was dealing quite a lot of damage. Stasis Revenant. We have 2 Revenant changes for you this time around, but they're impactful ones. Shatter Dive Aspect. Shattering stasis crystals or enemies now grants Frost Armor. Note, any shatter grants full stacks in PvE and 2 stacks in PvP. Okay, a really good way to get fast and easy Frost Armor. So that's nice. Silence and Squall Super. Increased damage against combatants by 63%. That's pretty good. And they changed how frozen targets are affected by damage with certain weapon types. So that could be really good. I'm excited to see all the builds. There's so many builds that people can make, and I am just an average gamer, and I don't know a whole lot about build crafting and things like that, other than just what I read here, and whether it's good or not, I don't know. So I'm looking forward to all of your builds that you post on who knows where and what to use of my own free will and choice. Strand Threadrunner. All right. Our Threadrunner changes are focused on increasing team play potential with Widow Silk and making Silk Strike more durable. Widow Silk Aspect. Looking at a grapple tangle for a short time now overrides your grenade ability with a free non-offensive grapple. So you just look at it, and then you just get a grapple, just cuz. Note, this allows you to give grapple capabilities to fellow guardians who don't have strand or grapple equipped. Also works for the Navigator Exotic Trace Rifle. Wow. So everyone gets free grapples. That's way nice. That's real nice. Grapple tangles created near the ground now rise into the air shortly after creation. Grapple tangles base lifetime increase from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. Hitting an enemy with a grapple melee that wasn't free now grants a grapple tangle. Oh, okay, okay. Silk Strike Super, increased passive energy regeneration by 11%, increased damage resistance during Super by 13%. Huge. I felt like I was always dying whenever I had Silk Strike equipped and needed to like go out and kill ads or something. And this should be a good change to help keep us alive a little bit better. All Hunter subclasses. Here we have a Marksman's Dodge ammo pickup buff to make it more consistent, and a PvP-only Gambler's Dodge nerf aimed at lowering ability spam and Hunter dominance in the Crucible. Looking at the data, Gambler's Dodge has double the usage of Marksman's Dodge and has outsized impact on Crucible kills per minute and win rate. I was definitely participating in that in the past couple weeks. Yeah, Tempest Strike is really good when you can have almost a constant uptime. In fact, you can use it twice back to back and just get a ton of kills. So I definitely did my part. Marksman Dodge class ability increased ammo pickup radius from 10 meters to 15 meters. Gambler's Dodge class ability in PvP only reduced melee energy gain from 50% to 35%. Fair enough. Fair enough. But if you're close to an enemy, you still get it back. So just be a little bit closer to the enemy and we can still do our thing. All right, Warlocks. Let's see what you've got. Solar Dawnblade. The Warlock Dawnblade changes are focused on Daybreak. For more info about how these interact with the Dawn Chorus Exotic Helm, see last week's armor tuning preview. Daybreak Super increased damage against combatants by 20%. Projectiles now scorch enemies by default. Voidwalker. These changes are focused on updating some of the Voidwalker supers to be more effective and enhance the gravity manipulation fantasy. Nova Warp Super. Charging the primary attack now pulls enemies toward the Warlock. Increased primary attack damage against combatants by 15%. Dark Blink now releases weakening Seekers. Nova Warp, what? Nova Bomb Vortex. Now repeatedly pulls enemies toward it during its lifetime. Okay, so now it's just, instead of one big suck and then everything runs away, it just keeps on pulling them in. It could be nice. Could bring the Nova Bomb back into, I wouldn't say meta, but a little bit more usable. Arc Stormcaller. The only build I have on Warlock, because it's the only thing I play on Warlock. Our Stormcaller changes are focused on making Stormcaller Super damage more competitive. Stormtrance Super increased maximum sustained damage bonus from 50% to 65%. Increased landfall jolt duration from 10 seconds to 16 seconds. Chaos Reach Super increased damage against combatants by 20%. Ionic Sentry Aspect no longer blinds the user on creation. Very nice. Lightning Surge, Prismatic Aspect only, reduced damage against players by 16%. Thank goodness. Lightning Surge is so annoying, especially when they use it over and over and over again. So it's nice to be able to survive at least 16% better. Stasis, Shadebinder. Winter's Wrath has never been about the damage until now. We've brought up the DPS to make this competitive with other roaming supers. The Frost Pulse adjustment here is a PvP only change to compensate for the fact that Warlock can now move while casting it. More on that below. Winter's Wrath Super increased Shatter Wave damage against frozen targets by 210%. That's a big 210%. Frost Pulse class ability reduced player freeze radius from 7.5 meters to 5 meters. Now slows players between 5 meters and 8 meters. Alright. Cool. Good job for you guys. Strand Broodweaver. This change to Needlestorm is a response to player feedback that it's difficult to use against bosses because the needles are often wasted on non-boss targets in the vicinity of the boss. We've updated the needle tracking priority to improve this behavior. Needles now prioritize bosses, mini-bosses, and champions over other enemies. Alright. That's good. It's going to be it's going to feel like Blade Barrage, in a sense. All Warlock subclasses. These Warlock Rift changes are aimed at making the Warlock less of a sitting duck when they need healing. We're also giving Empowering Rift more love. Okay, Healing Rift and Empowering Rift. Rifts now can now be cast while moving at roughly half speed. Increased Rift radius from 3.75 meters to 5 meters. Empowering Rift increased melee and grenade recharge rate while standing in Empowering Rift by 20%. That's pretty good. So all your grenade builds get a little bit better. Just a little bit nicer. Healing Rift. In PvP only, reduced healing rate by 10%. Note, our playtests indicate that allowing the Warlock to move during cast and increasing the Rift size made them difficult to deal with. We've taken a light touch with reducing the PvP healing rate, and we'll be monitoring Crucible feedback and data. Cool. Thank you for thinking ahead of time, Bungie. This could have been a huge problem. Titan. Crayon Eaters. I'm just kidding. I do love Titans. I'm mostly saying this for my friend Turble, because he's a diehard Titan main, and I will continuously call him a Crayon Eater until the day I die. Or until Destiny dies, and then we won't talk about it ever again. Solar, Sunbreaker. While we're happy to see that Titans are enjoying the return of Bonk Hammer builds, we also want to incentivize Hammer Throw skill shots, so the ability now does bonus damage at range. Hammer Throw melee. Impact damage now increases with range. Note that this damage increase is purely additive. The base damage is unchanged. Okay, that's nice. So it's going to incentivize not only Titans to throw their hammer farther, but to also use the new exotic, so they don't have to go chasing after it. They could just suck it back in, you know? It's just a little bit nicer of a touch there. Void Sentinel. For the Titans out there who enjoy protecting your allies, this one's for you. Your shield will now auto-reload your allies' weapons and grant them overshield. This isn't a full return to the free reload days of old Lunafaction boots. Instead, it will reload all your allies' weapons every 2.5 seconds when using low mag size weapons like rocket launchers. This will require some weapon switching to take full advantage of. Additionally, using the super defensively will now supercharge your shield throw, giving you big damage payoff for protecting your team. Oh, that's pretty nice. So it gives you a little bit of a super shield when you throw it. Is it going to be like a auto-loading holster if we have like our weapons put away? I'm assuming that's what they're implying here when it says this will require some weapon switching to take advantage of. So like we'll use the rocket launcher, switch, attack with another weapon until it's reloaded, switch back, and things like that. So maybe bait and switch weapons will be pretty good. Sentinel Shield Super. Standing behind the shield now periodically reloads all weapons every 2.5 seconds. Now grants Void Overshield to allies behind the shield. Damage bonus while behind shield reduced from 40% to 25%. Pretty good. Blocking attacks now extend super lifetime. Thank goodness. Because this is how it used to be back in Vanilla D2, wasn't it? No, you had to use Ursa Furiosa to get this bonus, so... Right? Is that how... I don't remember. I'm not a Titan. You guys can tell me down in the comments. Blocking attacks and protecting allies now charges shield throw damage. Note, this puts a bar on your screen that charges as you block attacks, and when allies are behind your shield, when charged, your shield throw deals more damage and resets the bar. Cool. Arc Striker. Looking at Fist of Havoc DPS, it could use a damage boost. We've added a simple minigame to the attacks to show it some love. Fist of Havoc. Light attacks now increase the next heavy attack's damage. Cool. Didn't that used to be one of the tree perks in Vanilla D2? I don't remember if it was top tree or bottom tree, but I'm pretty sure this used to be something. Stasis Behemoth. The recent Howl of the Storm changes have landed well, but it's dealing a little too much sustained DPS in some cases, outclassing every other ability in the game when used during Super, hence the one PvE nerf we mentioned earlier. Howl of the Storm aspect, when used during Super, increased Super energy cost from 5% to 15%. So you're not going to be able to do it as long. Sorry, Titans. Strand Berserker. This PvP only change to Banner of War is a response to player feedback that Banner of War's melee damage bonus is oppressive to fight against. Banner of War aspect melee damage bonus against players now scales with stacks instead of always being at full strength. Note, unarmed melee can now one-shot players at 2 stacks with 200 melee stat or at 3 stacks with base stats. Alright, so it's kind of like it's a nerf. It's a nerf. Because now instead of just needing 1 stack, you need a little bit more. General abilities. There are several little buffs here. We'll add commentary where necessary. Void Suppressor Grenade no longer suppresses the user. Increased detonation damage by 10%. Spike Grenade now attaches to combatants. Okay. Void Fragments reduce the negative stat on Echo of Undermining from -20 to -10. Echo of Provision now gives +10 grenade stat. Echo of Exchange now gives +10 melee stat. Remove negative stats from all other fragments except Echo of Starvation and Echo of Persistence. Note, Void had more negative stats than the other damage types, so we eased up on the penalties. Our goal for subclass build crafting is that there should be clear trade-offs without feeling punitive. Alright, cool. Good changes. Invisibility. Updated visuals to be slightly more visible in Crucible. Note, this is a response to Crucible feedback that invisibility is too effective. Overshield. Enemy VFX now scales with Overshield's remaining health. Note, this was added to allow players to eyeball how much Overshield an enemy has before deciding to engage. That's smart. I like that they're taking that into account. I didn't really notice, or at least I didn't know that I needed to know how much Overshield an enemy had. Until now. Arc. Lightning Grenade now attaches to combatants. Okay, that's nice. Flashbang Grenade no longer blinds the user. Increased detonation damage by 10%. Strand Threadlings. Threadlings that lose their target before impact will land and look for another combatant instead of exploding. Note, this will reduce the cases where your big bang of threadlings all explode on a single dread. The result is that they feel smarter and more alive. That's really good. Threadlings were always they were good, but they would just all die in an instant when you create like a million. So this is going to be good for especially Warlock Threadling builds. So we'll see. That's all, folks. Renegades is right around the corner, and we hope you're excited to start playing these sandbox changes. As we mentioned earlier, we'll also have significant changes and additions in Shadow and Order and beyond, so keep the feedback coming. All right, that is our preview for all of the abilities tuning for Renegades. I'm probably most excited for pretty much all of the Hunter changes. The solar ones are really good. I'm excited to see how powerful, especially the solar melees are going to be. Golden Gun is going to be really good, so I'm excited to try that. And then Shadow Shot, the Deadfall, is getting a huge buff with being the strongest weakening effect in the game, and it weakens immediately on impact instead of on tether, which is going to be really nice. I'm excited to see the Mobius Quiver damage being freaking huge, especially with bow weapons / Leviathan's Breath, to see kind of what the damage is going to look like. There's a lot of changes I'm excited for. But let me know what your guys' favorite changes are, or what you're looking forward to the most with your builds down in the comment section down below. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you liked it. And yeah, as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye!